As you can see, that breaking news on your screen, Tim Paine has now stood aside from all forms of cricket. Let's go live back to Jimmy now. Jimmy, is this a surprise? I mean, I know he's been under a lot of pressure, but he was going to play in the Ashes, wasn't he?
You'd have to say fair. It is a surprise, Laura. It wasn't the news we were expecting today. As you know, we've been waiting to hear from Cricket Australia as to who was going to replace Tim Paine officially as the captain for the Ashes. Of course, now not too far away, December 8th in Brisbane, but now it seemingly looks like Tim Paine will not be even part of that test squad. The statement has just come through from Cricket Tasmania, and I read, following discussions over the last 24 hours, Tim Paine has advised Cricket Tasmania that he will be taking a leave of absence from all forms of cricket for the foreseeable future. Tim, of course, was meant to be playing in a one-day match today, having taken part in a four-day fixture in Tasmania, trying to prove he is fit and ready to play. Well, fitness is now a distant issue for him. It's really about his mental health. His manager, James Henderson, has also confirmed via Twitter just moments ago. He says, confirming that Tim Paine is stepping away from cricket for an indefinite mental health break. We are extremely concerned for his and Bonnie's well-being and will be making no further comment at this time. So Bonnie being Tim's wife, of course, in the background, having to live this twice now, 4 years on from the original indiscretion from that sexting scandal, which has now been made public in the last week. And as we saw just 7 days ago today, saw Tim resign from his position as captain. He was, though, quite adamant at the time he would not be walking away from the game or his chances of playing in this Ashes series. Well, it just seems like the last 7 days and everything that's come with it, Laura, has now added up and quite understandably has taken quite the mental toll on Tim, his wife Bonnie and the family, now less than 2 weeks away from the Ashes. So Tim Paine is now stepping away from cricket for the foreseeable future, and you would think now with that decision effectively rules himself, if not from the first Ashes test, perhaps the Ashes series. And you would say now, given his birthday comes on the first day, the first test at 37, perhaps that is his international career as well.
Well, Jimmy, it says a lot about the public pylon, doesn't it? Tim Paine, he's certainly not perfect. He's been judged by the whole of Australia in a very public way, where him and his wife, as you say, dealt with this 3 years ago. What does it say about, I guess, the support from Cricket Australia? Is there still question marks there?
Well, if quite directly, Cricket Tasmania were very firm just a few days ago and started a most unholy civil war, if you like, basically taking Cricket Australia to task on how they felt Tim Paine was supported, and in their eyes, not well by Cricket Australia. Effectively, they felt he was almost hung out to dry for this, even though that historic sexting scandal was dealt with at the time and he was not found to have breached any code of conduct. Yes, morality, well, that's not really into question when it comes to your position. Potentially, certainly it's up for other people to discuss whether that makes you an Australian cricket captain or not.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah.
Tim tried to take the heat out of it, didn't he? He stepped away from that role, but now he stepped away from the game for good, and we only hope that will then take the pressure off mentally for both he and the family. Yeah,
absolutely. I feel for him because there's a lot of pressure to be under. I remember John Howard said that being Australian cricket captain or being an Australian cricketer, you have almost more pressure on you from the entire nation than you do as Prime Minister. I mean, what does this do for the preparations for the entire team, do you think, Jim, going into the Ashes?
Well, you look at it two ways. Shane Warne was obviously very clear about it in his column today, and so was Mike Hussey as well on Fox Sports News, that it's the unknowns, it's the intangible feel. Is it going to be the distraction for all that takes away from performance, or would it galvanise a side that wants to see Tim Paine in that Ashes squad? Well, he's taken that now completely out of the equation by stepping away. So with some time to now prepare, maybe that's just enough time before the first test to now take the heat right out of it. It is no longer a distraction because Tim Paine will not be taking part in the build-up to the Ashes, it could have remained a real millstone around the Australian team. And certainly we already knew that the Barmy Army and English media were more than happy to probably keen to keep that heat on Tim Paine, and that would add only more pressure on the team to perform. Well, now, of course, as we now know, Tim Paine will not be there for the first Ashes test, and perhaps, as I mentioned, that is the end of his international playing days as well.
Jimmy, just a quick tricky question, if I can. I mean, this is certainly been a bit of a disgrace how he's been treated. You say there was an internal investigation, he was cleared and then essentially hung out to dry. We've got a real problem in this country about this morality clause and how, you know, the public pile-on and how people are hounded out of jobs where it's not really a common set of standards. There's no rules in place, and it's hard to see once these things become public, even if you are exonerated, the court of public opinion seems to be able to hound you out of a job.
Yeah, it's a difficult position to be in, isn't it? I mean, look, you can quite simply say, had he never sent those text messages, we'd never be talking about this, but life isn't as straightforward as that. And as you mentioned, it now casts a pall upon how people are now dealt. When you've got social media and people adding their own opinion to it almost hourly, certainly daily, and it becomes such a huge talking point, I can only imagine the weight that that must have on a relationship, life at home, and your professional career. So for Tim Paine now being able to finally prick that amazing pressure bubble by taking, I would suggest, a rather brave play and step away from the game to deal on, I guess, what matters most, and that's home life. Given LJ, he was about to enter a bubble, he would have been away from wife Bonnie and the family for some considerable time because of the hub life situation he would have been entering into for the best part of the next 6 to 8 weeks in a very challenging Ashes campaign. Yeah. So I guess that does probably underline your question there as to now the priority is for Tim. Cricket, yes, the most important job in Australia perhaps, the captaincy of Australia he stepped away from, and now his position in the best Test 11 to deal on what's important, and that is those closest.
A huge amount of pressure. I hope he and his family are looking after themselves and getting all the support they need. Jimmy, thanks so much.